Friends, viewers, fans of Fire Emblem, lend us your ears. This is Donovan 1 and Mekkah.
Hi.
And we are bringing to you chapters 15 and 16A, my Fire Emblem 5 Paragon Mode 0% Gross playthrough.
This chapter was definitely intended as some kind of breather chapter after the quote-unquote hard chapters 14 and 14X. Now, we didn't go to chapter 14X because we didn't need to, and chapter 14 was actually pretty easy. But we still appreciate just how easy this chapter is. We can just carry Leif over the mountains with our numerous flyer squad and arrive at the church and end the chapter that way. But before we do that, we do have a couple of side objectives to fulfill.
Well, the first thing that we did was we had Leif trade the Wrath Manual to Linoan. She's a new recruit, represented by the sort of plain-looking female unit at the top of the starting group. She's a pretty important character, but all you need to know about her right now is she's a staff user, but she can't use warp yet, so she's only going to be slinging magic ups for the next few chapters, which are still pretty important. She can also use Nosferatu at base, one of the only characters who can do that in this game, so that's also going to be pretty important. Now, the real objective of this map appears to be to have Leif arrive at either the left or the right blue arrows. Having him arrive at either of those arrows will bring up the arrive command, thus making this the first true arrive chapter in the entire Fire Emblem franchise. And the reason why there are two blue arrows is because the name of this chapter is the two paths, and as the chapter video title indicates, the next chapter is designated as 16A because there's also a 16B. There's a route split coming out that consists of two chapters. The A route, also known as the Fort Norden route, is considered to be the easier of the two route splits because you get better characters, you get better items, including an extra warp staff and rescue staff, and the objectives are easier, whereas the B route, also known as the Malthier Forest route, has a harder objective and also tends to have worse characters and worse obtainable items.
Leif talks to the hero Ralph, who came out to defend the villages. Ralph is kind of like if Halvan got a couple of level ups and promoted and got A swords, so pretty good. He'll be useful from time to time. The paladin that came out, Amalda, is not recruitable right now, but will be later, so just keep her in mind. Ralph got us a skill ring for Tina to increase her staff accuracy, because it's garbage with her base 1 skill. And Karen bought as many Dorkies as she can carry, which is 7, because you can never have enough Dorkies in this game. And that's about it, so we'll just have Leif get danced and end the map.
Now, the game doesn't actually tell you that visiting the church will end the map, but if you do visit the church with Leif, you get a restore staff, and the bishop will ask which route Leif wants to go to, and he'll say, well, you know what? I will warp you there for free. So that's chapter 15 completed in 2 turns.
I'm pretty amazed you can actually warp skip route splits in this game.
How does the guy do it? Because we have like a team of 30 units, and he just warps every single one of them. Or probably not 30 units because we left somebody behind, but close to that amount.
He probably died of fatigue by doing that.
Such a shame. He's kind of old, so you're probably right. Anyway, chapter 16A. So this is the first map of the route split, and if you were to approach this map conventionally, it would be fairly difficult because there are some enemies arranged in pretty unfriendly formations. There's basically 2 giant groups of enemy mounted units that you have to face on this map if you were to kind of go the regular way and not to warp skip at all. But because we have the ability to warp, and we have 2 warp users now, courteous of Salem, we're going to cheese this map as hard as possible and really kind of trivialize it.
So the first way we can trivialize it is by warping Asvel over there to kill the boss. It's pretty easy to do. Asvel just needs to crit, because he doesn't double. It's one of the few bosses he doesn't double. And he only has 25% crit, because that's the maximum on the first hit. So that's why we're doing it quickly, so that if he fails we can just reset. And it looks pretty dangerous. He's on the forest, but there's a bunch of enemies there. But thankfully, the enemies near the boss, the Armor Knights, they don't attack you. If you kill the boss, they just run away, because, I don't know, their morale is ruined or something. And then the enemies commanded by the Mage Knight on the right, they also don't move for some reason. You can trigger them to move. We have no idea how, and we have no interest in finding out, because that would just make the chapter harder, not easier. And then after that, all we have to do is make sure to recruit both the recruitable characters, and that's pretty much it.
So the 2 groups of enemies headed by Mage Knights on this chapter, the one on the left is headed by a guy named Ilios. He is a recruitable character. The only way to recruit him is to talk to him with Karen, and you can only recruit him if Olwen either was never recruited or was recruited and had died somehow. Because we didn't recruit Olwen, therefore we have to recruit Ilios to satisfy the triple S rank objectives. There is no indication that you can recruit him. He just appears to be a generic enemy sub-boss because there's another enemy sub-boss on this map. The Mage Knight on the right, if you recall Kemph from chapter 11, he makes a reappearance in this chapter, and supposedly you're gonna have to kill him, but again, because we're warp skipping, we don't have to. Just kinda sits there like a dumbass. The game also does not give any indication that Karen is the character who is supposed to recruit Ilios, because Karen and Ilios have no pre-established relationship. She never talks about some guy named Ilios that she knows. He never muses about some random Pegasus Knight that he knows. What ends up happening in the recruitment conversation is that Karen kind of makes fun of him a little bit, and then he decides to join your team. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but, you know, Ilios is a pretty good character, so we will take that. Ilios starts with the Bolting Tome in his inventory, so to prevent him from running around and possibly one-hit KOing Leif, we're going to give him a free capture in the form of an unarmed Finn.
Yeah, we also recruited Sloof, the priest. That guy is completely vulnerable to attack and capture because he can't use any weapons, but he is very important because despite his inexperienced look, he's actually got an A rank in staves. He also has movement stars, but we edited those out, so that's not very significant. Other than that, it's just a free warp user, and he's one of the route exclusive characters that's really making a big difference between A route and B route.
Yeah, so in addition to having a base A rank staves or warp, he also has a base skill higher than 10, so Sloof basically never misses, which is a boon because Salem and Safi both have skill stats less than 10, so they will tend to miss. The last side objectives that we have to do on this map are to visit a house for a free pure water, and also to steal a sleep sword from one of the enemy cavaliers in this map with Tina. We gave her the skill ring beforehand just to increase her accuracy so that she won't miss, but even if she does miss, we can still dance her with Lara for backup strategy. The sleep sword does exactly what the name implies. It puts an opponent to sleep if you hit with it. Sounds pretty overpowered. It really isn't that strong because it weighs a lot, there's not a whole lot of uses, and it's not very accurate. And generally you want to be killing enemies rather than putting them to sleep. But regardless, it's going to be very important for an upcoming chapter, and you're going to see why. So that's chapter 16A completed in 2 turns. We'll see you next time.
See ya.